Guys, today we're going to be reading Front Desk Chapter 9. Now let's get to it. If you have the book, please read along. I walked home by myself after school, looking over my shoulder as I made the crossing from Meadow Lane to Coast Boulevard. It was like crossing over into a different world. Back in the hotel, I dashed to find my parents to tell them the news about Jason Yao was in my class, but it turned out they had other problems to worry about. The washing machine in the laundry room was busted. There was water everywhere, and my dad had foam up to his knees. "Quick," he said, pointing a bucket. "Hand me that." I gave him the bucket. It filled in a matter of seconds, and I dragged it out of the laundry room into the parking lot, watching as the mercury water spilled onto the ground like a tidal wave. As soon as it emptied, I took it back to the laundry room. Fill and spill, fill and spill. When the last of the water was emptied, the laundry room all wiped down. My parents got off the phone with Mr. Yao. I picked up the receiver in my room so I could listen in. "What now?" Mr. Yao barked. "I'm terribly sorry, but we're gonna need a new washing machine," my dad said. "What did you do? Did you break it?" Mr. Yao asked, annoyed. "You idiot!" "He's not an idiot," I yelled into the phone. "Mia, get off the phone," my dad said. I said, "Okay," and put the phone down on the table for a second, and then picked it back up. "You're paying for it, and guess what? They're not cheap," Mr. Yao said. "Mr. Yao, please be responsible," my dad pleaded. "I didn't break it. I just got here. I barely even touched it." "Well, you must do something because now it's broken. And if you want a new washing machine, you're going to have to pay for it," Mr. Yao said before slamming down the phone. My mother was furious after that call. She was shaking. "That man!" she shrieked. But no matter how mad she got, there was no avoiding the fact that we had to get a new washer. Mr. Yao had told my dad right before he got off the phone that it would take several days before it could be delivered. My dad paced back and forth in the living room, trying to figure out how we were supposed to live without a washing machine for so long. Every day, the dirty tower of dirty towels from a customer was as tall as me. "Maybe we should send it out," my dad said, thinking out loud, then quickly shook his head, and he thought how much that would cost. And who would be paying for it? Certainly not Mr. Tightwad. "What if we told the people not to use so much towels?" I suggested. Again, my dad shook his head. "We're a motel. We have to have towels," he said with a sigh. With a sigh, he turned to my mom. "We're just going to have to wash them all by hand." My mom groaned. On top of all the other things they had to clean, it didn't take long before the laundry room was teeming with towels. There were piles and piles of them sitting in buckets, on floor, hanging on every door. Every time I walked by the laundry room, it seemed to be more of them, like the towels were meeting each other in the laundry room, getting married and having babies. I knew I had to do something, so I went around to all the weeklies and explained the situation. They were also sympathetic. They vowed to limit their towel usage to one per day until the new washer arrived. "Thanks so much for understanding," I said to Hank. He and Billy Bob were in Hank's room cooking hamburgers on Hank's hot plate. "Not a problem," Hank said, throwing patties on the pan. They didn't even have ground beef, so Hank was taking a bunch of saltines and mushing them up. Then he added the ground up crumbs to his ground beef. I watched as he shaped the crumbly ground beef mixture expertly into 2 more patties. "Wow, it looks just like a real hamburger," I said to Hank. "Oh, it sure does taste like one, too," he said, handing me a cooked one. Gingerly, I lifted up the saltine burger to my mouth and took a bite. He was right. It tasted like the real thing, except only crunchier. I devoured the burger. I'm so sorry you guys had to pay for the new washer, he said as he's throwing more patties onto the sizzling pan. Typical Mr. Yao, squeezing us for every last penny. He handed me another saltine burger. As I chewed, I thought how nice it was that Hank lumped us together with the weeklies rather than Mr. Yao. Despite all our efforts, the mountains of towel continued to grow at an alarming rate. There just wasn't enough time to wash all of them by hand. That Sunday, I promised to help my dad knock out a bunch of them. We filled buckets, filling the buckets with water and dumping the laundry detergent. We sat down and scrubbed all of them by hand until our fingers turned to raisins. Even then, there were still dozens of dirty towels left. So many, in fact, that we soon ran out of buckets. Were we going to have to go to Home Depot and buy more buckets? My dad said, shaking his head. Buckets were $4.99 each. That was more than a Big Mac cost, and we couldn't even afford those. But I had an idea. As I grabbed as many of the rest of the dirty towels as I could and ran toward one of the empty guest rooms. Follow me, I said to my dad. I had headed straight for the bathroom, where I dumped all the dirty towels into the bathtub, ran the water, and sprinkled the laundry detergent. How are you going to scrub them? My dad asked. I grinned at him and started rolling on my pants. As soon as my dad saw that, he smiled and started rolling his up too. We jumped in the tub together, the water splooshing and splashing as the wet towels tickles our toes. We made so much noise jumping and screaming and laughing that my mom came in to see what's going on. What are you guys doing? She asked. We froze when we saw her, bracing for a lecture. But when I peeked at her face, I didn't see a frown. Scoot over, she said. My mom started rolling up her pants. That afternoon, my parents and I hoped and hoped and hoped, laughing so hard we soon forgot we were washing towels. You should come back for chapter 10. Bye.